It struck just after midnight. A powerful 7.5 magnitude earthquake rocking the South Island.
I was just lying in my room and I couldn't believe how long it went on for, and it was quite scary.
It hit in North Canterbury near Hanmer Springs and it was felt right across the country. It triggered more than 100 aftershocks and sparked a tsunami warning for the entire east coast. Waves of 2.5 metres were recorded, the highest tsunami waves New Zealand has seen in close to 40 years.
I woke up and it felt like I was on an airplane waking up during turbulence. It just felt like the whole hotel was shaking, like it was just being blown around in the wind. It was scary and it lasted a long time.
Kept going and got bigger and bigger. And then I saw the staff starting to run out, and that's when we all basically got the hell out of the building.
The worst affected areas include Colvin and Kaikoura, with authorities scrambling to assess damage and respond to reports of injuries.
What's going to happen now as we have daylight is we can go into a proper assessment. Communities will obviously go out and reach out to their neighbours and their friends and their workmates to get a sense of damage and just making sure that people are getting support.
Massive cracks in the road, shattered glass and toppled bottles of wine show just how severe the quake was.
Oh my God.
Schools across the region are closed and people have been told to stay home from work. Damage has also been reported in Wellington. High-rise buildings have been evacuated. Rail, bus and ferry services in the capital have been cancelled. In the Hawke's Bay city of Hastings, residents fled their homes and gathered in a local school hall.
It's not just the physical need to provide them either another place to go, it's also the emotional support. Earthquakes are terrible things for destabilising people's sense of confidence.
Power is out across many areas and roads are blocked by debris. It's likely to be many hours yet before the full scale of this disaster is known. Gemma Coombe, News Hub.
Well, as you saw in those pictures there is a big clean-up ahead. But apart from the casualties and the property damage that we've already told you about this morning, the quake is also causing major disruption to the daily routines of thousands of people. Aziz Al-Safin is in our Auckland newsroom to run us through the problems they're facing. Aziz, what can you tell us?
Sam, authorities are essentially saying to people, stay in your house, do not go outside, do not attempt to going to work at if you're in Wellington, because they don't know how bad the damage is. They are still trying to assess it. So stay at home is the big message there. Although the tsunami threat has been semi-lifted in some parts of the country, the big advice there is still stay out of the water. This is still a marine threat, and don't put yourself in danger at those parts. If you're in northern Canterbury, there are water boiling notices that have been issued, so just better be safe than sorry and boil that water before you drink it if you're in those parts of the country. Essentially, transport has been disrupted throughout the country, both in the northern and the southern parts. Ferries have been cancelled. We've heard reports, those reports of the damages at the ports, and that's because they just need to assess whether it's actually safe to travel. There are some roads that have been basically blocked and from slips, and so they have told people not to travel in those parts in Palmerston North. So a lot of big advice there. The Prime Minister has obviously called for calm, and he's telling people to just stick to those online messages. Go on Twitter. This is the fastest way you are going to receive information today. Whether you're a student trying to do exams today, those are being cancelled by NZQA, or whether you're just trying to get to work or school. So big advice there from him.
That's right. If you are in those affected areas, get online, newshub.co.nz. We'll direct you to that information that you need also. Thank you, Aziz Al-Safin in our Auckland newsroom.
Well, business correspondent Tony Field is with us now. And Tony, obviously there's huge amounts of damage. What's the advice for people who have maybe damage to their home?
Yeah, how this works, the Insurance Council and EQC say the first thing you should do after you make sure you're safe, your property is secure, is try to take photos of the damage, particularly before you start moving items around. Now, it's important, two things here. They say that if you've got broken crockery, other broken possessions, try to keep those. You may actually need those later for the claim. But if you've got perishable items like food, it's important to get rid of that because there are potentially health and safety issues with that. How the system works in New Zealand is if you've got house insurance or contents insurance with a particular insurance company, you'll be covered by EQC up to $100,000 plus GST for the house and up to $20,000 plus GST for the contents. Now, people can also, and this is where you should check your policies, because you can also get additional top-up insurance. So check your policy, then make contact with both your insurance company and EQC.
Is the EQC gearing up for a massive influx of claims?
Yeah, they'll be expecting those, and in fact they'll be putting out additional information. Also, if you want more information about exactly what is and isn't covered by EQC, they've got a lot of good info on their website. There are some things not covered, obviously things like motor cars, that's a separate insurance cover. Things like jewellery and artwork are not always covered.
And artwork obviously falling off the walls, we've seen lots of pictures of that. Perhaps, as you say, you need the evidence of what's happened, so people should be taking photographs. They probably are already, but it's good advice.
Absolutely. You know, before you ideally take the photos before you start moving things around. Although whatever you do, of course, your paramount concern is just to make sure you're safe.
Yeah. Tony, can you tell us a bit about what's happening with the New Zealand dollar this morning?
Yeah, interesting. The New Zealand dollar has fallen today. It's down probably to a 1-month low. We're trading at about 70.9 US cents. That compares to about 71.2 US cents Friday night, so a fall of about 1/3%. To see the dollar go down like this after an event like this that we've been through is not unexpected. The other thing to note is that the New Zealand share market will open at 10 a.m. like many businesses in central Wellington. They were in there assessing for damage. They tell us they will open at 10 a.m.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Tony. We want to take you back to some of the vision we've just received. There's some new aerial footage. It's just making clear the extent that of the damage that's been done. Railway lines can be completely bent out of shape there. Roads have also been ripped up as the earthquakes have rippled up the country, and we also have some shots of hillside slips also visible. The extensive damage. That's State Highway 1 near Kaikoura, and some of the cliff-top houses there that look like their foundations might be in trouble. That is going to take a long time to clean up. That's going to be weeks and weeks, if not months. On State Highway 1 there, that's going to be impassable for quite some time. Well, we now go to News Hub reporter Alex Bed, who is on Wellington's Oriental Parade. And Alex, there's been some pretty major disruptions to transport and infrastructure in Wellington as well.
There have been, Tom. Behind me you can see 2 ferries which are parked in the inner harbour because they're not allowed to berth at the moment because there has been damage done to both the ferry terminals and the port. We spoke to the port earlier. They said that some of the containers had actually tumbled and the land which it's built on has buckled in some places. We went all the way from Centre Point, which is the main port here, down to the terminals where the ferries take off, and the land has actually pushed together like you've seen in previous quakes and buckled, especially the BNZ Centre. We went past that, and that's built in that same area, and that's sustained quite a bit of damage. So that's the part of the city which has appeared to have taken most of the brunt of this quake.
Thank you, Alex. That's Alex Baird, live from central Wellington. Well, before we go, here's a recap of the latest on the effects of that 7.5 magnitude quake that struck near Culverden shortly after midnight. 2 people have died. One was in a collapsed historic homestead in Kaikoura, and the other may have suffered a heart attack. Search and rescue teams are being choppered into Kaikoura to help. State Highway 1 in the South Island is extensively damaged and impassable in parts, and power is out in many areas also. Now, many schools are closed between Wellington and North Canterbury. NZEA exams were suspended for thousands of students whose schools were closed, and all scholarship exams have been called off nationwide. Now, Kiwi Rail has cancelled all trains south of Palmerston North and right across the South Island. Wellington commuters are being told not to go into the CBD, and earlier tsunami warnings have been downgraded, but there is still a marine and beach threat from Napier to Dunedin.
All right, well, that is it for now. We're going to be back at midday with another News Hub special, and there is, of course, continuing coverage on newshub.co.nz and on Radio Live's network across the country. I'm Samantha Hayes.
And I'm Tom McRae.
We'll see you soon.